Every animal on Earth is either hunting, hiding, eating, or sleeping. They are never bored. A wolf resting in the shade is not thinking about what else it could be doing. A crow perched on a wire is not frustrated by the gap between where it is and where it wants to be. They exist in the present with a completeness that most humans will never experience. You invented boredom. No other animal did, and it wasn't an accident. The uncomfortable feeling you get when you have nothing to do, that low-grade restlessness, that sense that time is being wasted, that itch that has no location, is not a flaw in the human mind. It is the same cognitive engine that built the pyramids, composed symphonies, and launched people into space. It just misfired, and it will keep misfiring for the rest of your life. But here's what no one tells you: it was supposed to. For most of human history, idle time was a different kind of problem. Your ancestors didn't scroll through nothing because nothing existed to scroll through. They sat in firelight after the hunt, meat drying nearby, children asleep, and they had hours. Empty, dark, physically safe hours with no task attached to them. This was extraordinarily rare, and it was dangerous to waste. An idle mind in the Paleolithic was potential energy. It could solve tomorrow's problem before tomorrow arrived. It could run the simulation again where the prey went, why the water source dried up, what the weather pattern meant. It could notice the pattern that everyone else missed. The humans who sat still and felt nothing, they survived. The humans who sat still and felt an unbearable pull toward doing something, with this time toward solving, building, inventing, they didn't just survive. They changed everything. That restlessness had a name before we named it. It was the brain refusing to go offline, not because something was wrong, because something was right. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran a study that should have been impossible. He put participants alone in a room with nothing to do, no phone, no book, no window, for 15 minutes. They were told they could press a button to give themselves a mild electric shock if they wanted. 2/3 of men shocked themselves. 1/4 of women did too. Rather than sit with their own thoughts, they chose pain. Think about how extraordinary that is. Not metaphorical pain, actual electrical current. Voluntarily, because the alternative, an empty mind in an empty room, felt worse. Your brain is a prediction machine. That is not a metaphor. Neuroscientists describe the prefrontal cortex as running a constant forward model, simulating the next moment, the next hour, the next threat, the next reward. It does this automatically, all the time, whether you ask it to or not. When external input disappears, the machine doesn't shut down. It accelerates. Boredom is what happens when that machine has nothing to process. It's like a turbine designed to spin underwater that gets lifted into the air. It still spins. It just makes a terrible noise. The researcher Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire found that boredom reliably increases creative output. People who were made to perform a dull, repetitive task before a creativity test significantly outperform people who weren't bored first. The brain doesn't idle. It searches, and when it can't find a signal, it generates one. Your boredom is not laziness. It is your brain building something from nothing, because that is all it knows how to do. But here's where it gets strange. We are the only animal with this problem because we are the only animal with the cognitive architecture that creates it. Chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives, do not appear to experience existential boredom. They rest, they groom, they wait. They don't pace a room pressing buttons to feel something. The human prefrontal cortex is roughly 3 times larger, proportionally, than a chimpanzee's. It is the part of the brain responsible for planning, simulation, abstract thinking, and self-referential thought, the part that lets you imagine yourself 5 years from now, or wonder if you're wasting your life. It is also the part that makes boredom unbearable. You got the cognitive engine that built civilization. The fine print was that it never turns off. And yet here is the complication: chronic boredom is not the same thing as the productive restlessness that drove invention. Modern research has separated them. Psychologists now distinguish between what they call searching boredom, the restless, energized state that pushes you towards something new, and reactive boredom, a flattened, trapped feeling linked to depression, aggression, and compulsive behavior. The prehistoric misfire built cathedrals. The modern version, trapped inside a phone and a desk and a schedule, eats itself. Your brain still runs the same ancient software. It still experiences any stretch of low stimulation as a signal to find the problem, solve the problem, build the thing. That has not changed in 50,000 years. What changed is the world around it. For most of human history, boredom was temporary by necessity, because the physical world always eventually demanded your attention. The fire needed wood, the child was crying, something moved at the tree line. Boredom was a gap between tasks, not an environment you could live inside. Now, you can live inside it. You can spend an entire afternoon with nothing genuinely demanded of you, and the machine will still spin, and you will reach for your phone not because your phone is satisfying, but because it produces just enough signal to convince the turbine it has water. It doesn't, but it's close enough, for about 30 seconds at a time. The wolf in the shade isn't fighting anything. You are. Constantly, that low-grade friction you feel in a waiting room or a meeting that has stopped meaning anything that is the same friction that once forced a person in a dark cave to pick up a piece of charcoal and draw something on a wall just to give their minds somewhere to go. Somewhere on the wall of the Chauvet Cave in southern France, there is a hand. It is 32,000 years old. Around it, horses, lions, woolly rhinos drawn in charcoal with a precision that still shocks the people who study them. No one asked for those drawings. No one needed them. They served no survival purpose. Someone was simply there, with time, and a mind that could not leave the time empty. You carry that mind. Every ache of boredom you've ever felt is that same signal, running in the same hardware, asking the same question it has always asked. What are you going to make of this? The animals never had to answer. You do, every time.